and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So a little different tonight. I want to welcome Jake Mather. He's been recently appointed by the North Kingstown Town Council to fill the vacancy on the school committee from Tony Jones when he had to move out of town. And I'm going to start by administering the oath of office. So if you want to come around, I'll come around. One more inch. Okay, if you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and of the State of Rhode Island,
and of the State of Rhode Island,
and will obey the laws of the United States
and will obey the laws of the United States
and of the State of Rhode Island,
and of the State of Rhode Island,
that I will in all respects
that I will, in all respects,
observe the provisions of the Charter and ordinances
observe the provisions of the Charter and ordinances
of the Town of North Kingstown,
of the Town of North Kingstown,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of school committee member
of school committee member
until I am legally discharged therefrom.
until I am legally discharged therefrom.
Congratulations
Thank
and
you.
welcome. Okay, having done that, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Blasbach?
Here.
Mrs. Hildebrand? Here. Mrs. Hoskins? Here. Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Mather?
Here.
Mrs. Shaw? Joe Vendo?
Here.
And Ann Etchells.
And you also indirectly solved our double Mr. Jones problem, which was awkward for a little while, but okay. If you could please call the calendar.
Tuesday, October 29th, 2019, there will be a school committee business meeting.
Thank you. Any presentations and recognitions, Dr.
Just
Shea?
have one item. On Friday night at the high school football homecoming game, we're going to do a very brief ceremony, roughly 6:40, 6:45-ish, to thank everyone who's in the pipeline, including the voters and boosters and elected officials who have helped us to take care of that athletic complex project. And the field that the students are playing on is tremendous. It really came out nicely. We had a massive crowd for the Hendricken game. That was within days of it being completed. So this is an opportunity to thank everybody for coming together, a real community effort to make a beautiful community field. So I know Mrs. King has an item.
Yes, I would like to recognize one of our bus drivers who recently had a student on her bus who had a very serious medical condition. Our driver was quick thinking enough to make an immediate decision when one of the other students on the bus said that this student was suffering a medical problem. She pulled right into the public safety complex. And she kept everyone calm, and she reached out to this student's mother and kept the mother up to date as the student was taken by ambulance, and she handled the situation very well. Her name is Donna Germani, so we thank her very much for her quick thinking and her diligence with keeping our other students safe and making everyone aware of the student's medical issue.
Thank you very much. It's always good to hear. Good news. Any other presentations or recognitions? Okay. Then I'm going to move on to citizens' comments. There are a couple people who've signed up to speak. Even if you didn't sign up to speak, I'll call anybody else at the end. We do ask that you please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and if you could please state your name and your address when you come to the microphone. First person I have here is Pamela Pinero. You can just move that over. Thank you.
Pam Pinero. Is it on?
It should be.
Right.
It doesn't
matter.
go here, but it's for the
That's
camera.
Picking up for the camera.
I'm
not
loud
for the
enough. Pam Pinero, 710 Slocum Road. I'm here tonight to request an exemption be added to the current building use fee schedules for nonprofit youth groups. I am a Girl Scout leader of Troop 852, and we have been meeting for 5 years at the Stony Lane cafeteria immediately following school. We received a bill for the first time this year for $450 for using the exact same space for the exact same amount of time. We have never previously received a bill. Last year, I collected approximately $900 from parents to cover the troops' meeting costs. $450 is 50% of what I collected. I have done extensive research on our neighbors' towns' policies and consulted with current Girl Scout troops from East Greenwich, Narragansett, and South Kingstown, all who do not pay under these same conditions. In Narragansett's policy, they have exemptions for nonprofit youth organizations such as Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. They go on to define nonprofit groups as registered as a nonprofit. 80% of the volunteers must be from their town, and 51% of the youth must be from their town. East Greenwich's policy does not charge community-based groups as long as they are using the space in the time frame that custodians are working. Exeter West Greenwich's school committee authorizes use of school facilities without rental charges to community groups or individuals from the towns of Exeter and West Greenwich whose usage benefit the community. All community youth organizations with 50% or more participants from EWG school children, including but not limited to Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. The value of Girl Scouts is tremendous. Our mission is to build girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. Girl Scouts and all scouting groups have a community element to them. We give back to the community frequently, and it is part of our program. In recent years, we have had Girl Scouts fix the trail at Stony Lane, do recycling and murals at Davisville, closet repair and costume catalog at the high school, lead beach cleanups, sing at nursing homes, collect for blessings in a backpack, donate to animal shelters, make blankets for youth and elderly, and much more. Research supports Girl Scouts program as helping kids perform better academically in school. We offer an affordable program for all. We are meeting when the school is already open and when custodians are still present and working. I feel strongly that Girl Scouts and other scouting programs should be exempt for these fees. We are all volunteers, and we are providing a valuable service to our community. If our neighboring towns can do it, then so should we. I have references for my quotes on all the policies for
Read
you.
those for that clerk? Thank you.
I have 2 sets highlighted for the appropriate passages.
Thank you. So the next person, I think it's Denise Langfield. Sorry if I said that wrong.
Denise Langfield, 44 Antelope Circle. I'm here to request that you provide all North Kingstown-based Girl Scout troops with an exemption from the building use fees that were recently put into effect. I have a daughter in 4th grade at Stony Lane who is in Pam Pinero's troop. Nearby towns, like she said, Narragansett, East Greenwich, allow for an exemption from the facility fees for nonprofits like Girl Scouts, and I'd like to see North Kingstown do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Dara Clough.
Dara Clough, 118 Rollingwood Drive. Good evening. My name is Dara Clough. I'm the co-leader of Daisy Troop 816. Our troop consists of 12 first-grade daisies who attend Stony Lane School, Hamilton, Forest Park, South County Montessori School, which are all in North Kingstown, and Melrose School in Jamestown. This is our 2nd year of doing Girl Scouts, and we meet twice a month in the Stony Lane Library. As required, we submitted a facilities use request form for our 16 meetings between October and May. On October 1st, we received an invoice in the amount of $400. We collect dues from our troop members to cover the cost of badges and meeting supplies. Profits earned from our cookie sales last year were used to give the girls a reward for their hard work and will be used this year to provide the girls with the opportunity to complete bigger and better projects and participate in additional outside activities. Asking parents to cover the cost of the rental fee would double our dues, which would potentially cause a hardship to some families. The Girl Scouts of Southern New England's Policies, Procedures, and Standards Manual has a list of meeting place standards which we are required to meet, including accessibility and safety requirements. It also states that it is standard practice to avoid using troop funds to rent space for regular troop meetings. Girl Scout troops should seek schools, churches, community centers, or all their local sites which are free. It is convenient for us to meet at Stony Lane. The majority of the girls in our troop attend the school, so they are dismissed to us into the cafeteria. The girls are comfortable in the space that we meet in, and we know the space meets the requirements of the meeting place standards. I understand the need for the school committee to have a facilities use policy. However, I feel that a major point was missed in its creation. The policy states that the North Kingstown School Committee encourages the use of school facilities and grounds by responsible organizations, associations, and individuals in the community for appropriate civil, cultural, welfare, or recreational activities when not in use for the North Kingstown schools, education, and extracurricular programs. Girl Scouts definitely fits this. Nonprofit groups are considered in the fee schedules. However, for elementary schools, the cost of a multipurpose room is $20 per hour. This resulted in our $400 invoice. As mentioned previously, neighboring towns have policies that exempt Girl Scout troops from these fee requirements. I ask that you consider revising your policy to eliminate the fee for nonprofit youth organizations such as Girl Scouts. By charging troops these fees, you are making many consider finding alternative space for their meetings. The school committee should be encouraging Girl Scouts to use our schools to help facilitate the mission of Girl Scouts, to build girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. Thank you.
Those are the only 3 people who've signed up. Anyone who'd like to speak has an opportunity to do so. If there's anyone who didn't sign up but would like to. Okay. So moving on to our routine items. First, actually that needs to go, we need to do that at the end. So we'll move that at the end because we have not had an executive session yet. And we can't disclose votes because we haven't had an executive session yet. So consent agenda. Anyone have any items they'd like to exempt from the consent agenda?
I'd like to exempt C1 and C2, please.
C1 and C2. And I just note there's a typo. It wasn't the meeting we held in 1029 in the reign of King Arthur. It's 2019, but that's okay. No problem. I think we know. And item E1, I'm going to exempt. Any other exemptions? So if I could have a motion to approve the non-exempted consent agenda items. Motion from Ms. Hoskins, second Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. You just cast your first one. So I'll ask for a motion to approve items C1 and 2. A motion from Ms. Hoskins. Second from Mr. Jones. I assume you're going to abstain, so that's why both of you. Okay, so but we'll do that. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Those 2. So that passes. Next, I'm going to make a motion to approve item E1, but we have an additional name, and the information is, so in addition to the person that's already in your packet, we're adding Mary Heldorfer Cooney, which is a 1.0 full-time equivalent ELL teacher, and the salary is step 10 plus masters. So if I could have a second for that motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. That is the end of the consent agenda. So next is the approval of the NEANK contract. If I could have a motion to approve. I have a motion, Ms. Hoskins. Do I have a second? I have a second from Mr. Jones. So I just want to point out, we approved the dollars and cents in basics of this contract back at the end of August. Since that time, the union negotiating team and our legal counsel have essentially put together all of the back and forths that occurred during that meeting, which, as Ms. Hildebrand, the two of us being on that committee, can tell you there's a lot. So it takes some time to consolidate that and all the changes into the contract. That's been done, and the final contract is in front of us this evening. Any other discussion on that? Yeah, Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, to our folks who volunteered to do that, thank you, because it's a lot of things. To our administration and our other negotiators who also put in a lot of long hours and analysis. And this is my second, third, I don't know, sixth collective bargaining agreement somewhere along the line, and they're never easy, but they can be difficult as well. So I always appreciate when both sides of the table negotiate in general good faith and strive to get this resolved. And generally, usually with the contract, there's things that neither party gets exactly what they want. Sometimes that's the hallmark of a good contract in that sense. So I just appreciate all the work that went into it, as well as our those on the union side and our teachers and others who fall under the contract to get this done in a timely manner, and so we can move forward with this education.
Absolutely, and I said it before, but I'll say it again. I want to thank the folks from the union negotiating team. There was a real effort on both sides, I think, to try to really work together and get this done. And I think it worked out really well. And I want to thank everyone who put in a lot of hours and hard work to get us to that point. Ms. Hildebrand and I did not attend every meeting, and I know you did. So thank you very much. We heard a lot, but not all. So we have a motion and a second. We do, right? I got sidetracked. Yes. Okay, just checking. Sorry, yes.
So I have a pretty specific question about the contract.
Sure.
So under the high school class advisor clause, the contract states that a committee will be formed to review the structures, duties, and stipends of high school class advisors. It also says that student representatives are assigned to this committee, and those student representatives will come from Leadership Academy and student government. So my question is, which student representatives are on that committee, if any?
Has it happened?
They are, yes, I spoke to Dr. Morse about it. She said that there are some teachers that have had some conversations with some students. They've put the actual committee itself on hold from right now until after homecoming, because they're very busy. I know one of the names is Mr. Albernaz, and I can't remember the other one. Dr. Manseri, do you know the name of the female teacher that's on this committee also? I can't remember her name.
Have to do with Goodyear.
Yeah, but anyway, they started it, and they talked a little bit amongst themselves. They talked to a couple of students, but they really are going to get into that after homecoming. They've just been very swamped.
Okay.
Yeah. So the September 30th date, I know
Right,
it says
yeah.
that, but we probably should have put that date a little bit further out.
Things have a way of slipping a little bit. So you haven't missed out. No, it hasn't happened yet.
Okay. And
Well,
we'll get a
I
notice.
think that's a good point, though, and I'm glad we added this to the contract, because I think advisory was dictated by the General Assembly, or came in something a long time ago, and so
That's different.
these
These
are
are
the class advisors, right?
Yeah.
So, well, I'd also say, as having had kids go to high school, sometimes I wonder what the class advisor does. So I think it's good sometimes to review that and make sure we're leveraging that if we're going to spend money and resources on it. And sounds like a good point to have student input in there. So I'm glad we included that.
And the teacher is Miss Garcia. And the whole goal is to make those positions valuable and meaningful, not only for the students, but also for the teachers, because you know that those advisors, that's an incredible amount of work. So when we met with the union during negotiations, we realized that, a different structure might benefit everyone. So that's the goal of that committee.
And that's the classic example, just so you understand how it works, is there are times when during our long negotiating sessions, it becomes readily apparent that there's something that we both essentially agree in principle on, but we don't have the time to work out the details. So rather than hold up the ratification of the whole contract, trying to figure that out,
Yeah.
sometimes these types of items get put off later on with the understanding that, we'll all get together and we'll figure it out. So any other discussion? We have a motion and a second, so all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Moving on to unfinished business, 2018-19 school budget, anything there? 2019-20 school budget. So we have a series of budget adjustments, just in broad brush, as we go through the year. There are certain budget assumptions that are made when we have to do our budget early on in the process, and as Mr. Jones loves to lament, and very accurately so, we have to start our budget process so early that some of the largest budget driving numbers, like our state aid numbers and our enrollments and our tuitions in from other districts and special education, so many of those are just absolutely unavailable at the time we do our budget. So as the numbers begin to firm up and adjustments need to be made, we make adjustments like this. There's a lot of pluses and minuses on this spreadsheet, but that's just sort of balancing out things to what we see right now. Not that it wouldn't change again.
We are actually starting the FY21 budget. We have some meetings next week, this week.
And we start all over again.
Very early.
Budget season.
So I'd ask for a motion to approve item 5B.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? All those in, discussion.
Yes, thank you.
I go fast, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's great, because there's not much left. I just, since I think this is under this, make a couple points. One is, like you said, there's a lot of adjustments that occur, and I think it's good that we recognize those and find offsets. I think a couple to highlight, for example, our charter school bill. And not so much, I don't want to get into the whole charter school issue, more that $9,000 of that is for students who we never educated at a charter school. And so when you talk about having to bill you $450, which I think fits under the budget, and I appreciate the folks who come here and advocate for that. I used to be part of Ocean State Soccer, and I'd drive around going, hey, this gym isn't being used, why can't we use it? And then, how are we going to fit the cost in our budget? I think when you do your research, though, you missed one point, which is how much do those towns, municipal side, donate to the school capital reserve fund? Because for most years, at least the last 6 or 7, our side hasn't given any dollars for school capital reserve. And so, the floors have to be replaced, maintenance has to be done, and I appreciate the point, your argument to say your group is doing good things, because I know they are, and it's now a cost to do that. I would also say you should take your argument to the town council and go, part of the joint responsibility is that we maintain those spaces. And right now, we're sort of in a point, because of the need for that, to have users help contribute to that. And again, I appreciate your point. It gets a little difficult to pick and choose one group over another. But I'm sure we'll take a look, given the points you've raised. The superintendent will re-look at it and make a recommendation back to the committee. But again, I would also go look at those other towns and say, how much do those towns support their school districts through their capital reserve fund? Because in North Kingstown, it's been zero most years. I pretty much bet in those other towns it's not zero. Which again leads to the point, there's a disconnect with the charter school enrollment. I think now, since I've been here, this makes 6 years, probably about 50 grand. 50 grand of North Kingstown taxpayer money that has gone to charter schools to educate not a single day for the North Kingstown students who signed up for those charter schools. It's a disconnect. I think we've raised it a lot of times. The disconnect is at the state with RIDE and the General Assembly. Once again, I hope our legislators will work to fix that. I would advocate that you talk to our general assembly legislatures and go, why is North Kingstown paying money for children who don't get educated in those charter schools? It's not an issue of charter schools or not charter schools. It's a simple equity issue of, if you pay for a service, you expect the service to have been done. If the service doesn't get done, you expect not to have to pay for it. Well, for example, if you didn't hold your meeting, you wouldn't expect to be billed for the meeting space. Unfortunately, the way the charter school enrollment works, every year we get billed for students who don't end up going there, and there's no recourse for us to get our money back. And you know, it may be 1, 2, 3 students, but over the time I've been here, I think it's at least, Mrs. King, at least $50,000, if not more.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that's actually an injustice you should worry about too.
What Mr. Jones is referring to is if a child indicates that they're going to be attending a charter school, a North Kingstown resident child indicates they're going to attend a charter school, but then they don't actually go, we still get stuck with the first bill, whether they walk in the door or not. And it's just the way the statute's written. We had, I get lost when we have a long talk. We had a motion and a second, right?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So any further discussion? Then I will ask for all those in favor. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Next, CIP, existing bond or future bond. Okay. New business. So we have the NKSC Professional Development Survey. I need to refresh my memory on what that is. Is that one we're going to formally vote on?
I think we
Just talking about it, so.
And we need to task the superintendent.
Okay, so you want to
Yes,
kick that off?
So, well, thank you. Right. So, thank you for everyone for filling it out, just for the public's general knowledge. So, like we expect of our school professionals to get professional development, we hold ourselves to the same standard. So, it seemed like the prevailing topics this year were for district technology and special education law. So, we'll need some help on both of those. So I guess we'd ask superintendent, we can have a dialogue to flush those topics out a little more, and maybe you'd help us
District
arrange.
technology.
Well, I think we need to flesh it out a little more,
Okay.
but I think it's, you know, things understanding, you know, what we have, things like Aspen, things, you know, other technologies that the district
What's
have
being
and
used
how
in
they
the
work,
classrooms.
what's being used in the classroom, how they work, all that kind of stuff. So we'll flush that out. It seemed like the good time too was on Tuesdays, you know, when we don't have a meeting, or, you know, for example, like tonight, we could have had it at 6
Right,
o'clock,
either
so something like that where.
So what about special ed?
So
do you
what
propose?
we've had some conversations in the past where we've talked about maybe having you give a presentation on
Right.
special education law to the committee. It's all part of our,
Your goals.
continuing education and professional development that we want to have as part of our goals as well.
Okay.
And that would be very much within your
That's-
purview. So,
Okay.
that would be the special ed part of it.
So we'll try and have those two topics before next May.
And we were just looking, scheduling wise, the members indicated that best times to do it would be either be a night with a short meeting tonight or one of the off Tuesdays when we're not meeting at around the same time and place.
I wonder too, I mean, there were quite a few different options that you put on the survey. It might be good to share that with you guys, just because if there are things that you see that come up that you send your administrators to, or something that you think that might be valuable to us, like it doesn't have to be an organized thing, but
Right.
like, if they come across something and they can send it out to us, like, you know, I'd definitely be willing to attend something on another one of the topics. I don't even remember what they are off the top of my head, but there were some other really good ones too. I think I
Yeah, we
selected them
had,
all.
we can send a thing, but like
Like,
understanding the assessment scores.
Yeah, there
um,
were quite a few.
Our favorite, UCOA, understanding UCOA.
Yeah.
Going to give a 6-hour
I can't help you
presentation
with
on
that. I don't
understanding
think the
UCOA.
only person in the state of Rhode Island that understands UCOA is our controller, Steve Janelle.
So, I would also add, I think it fits under the school budget. Tomorrow, I believe, the General Assembly is meeting on the school funding formula. you've not been aware, North Kingstown, and especially districts in Washington County, are perennial losers in that, meaning even though our enrollment's been stabilized and actually our free and reduced lunch population is going up, it's a zero-sum game in the state, so we have been losing state aid despite that because of the way the formula works.
And very unpredictably so.
And yes, and very unpredictably is a good point. For example, we've had swings of up to 10%. A community like Smithfield had a 15%. That's a big, so for us, we're talking, you know, $500,000 to $800,000 swing in a given year, usually to the negative, which again causes a lot of disruption in trying to long-term plan for education. Again, I would advocate, talk to your General Assembly members, advocate for a funding formula that at least provides both stability, predictability, and fairness, not just to certain districts in the state, but to all districts in the state.
Is that a hearing tomorrow?
Yes, it's starting, I think it's the House percent, I forget, but it's, yes, at 5:30, of course, very inconvenient to go give testimony.
Last year, the funding formula phase-in is FY '21,
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
And we were actually at a RIDE summit not that long ago, and we asked about it. At that time, they told us there was no discussion about the funding formula, but we knew that it would probably be forthcoming. They're at least gonna wanna review it to see if they're gonna change it because of the year 10 of the phase-in. And North Kingstown did go down a couple $1 million in that. You know, there's been some ups and downs, like Mr. Jones said, with the enrollment, but we used to be at about $12 million, just over $12 million in state aid, and we're just over 10 now. So we've had a really big decline that was not solely due to enrollment, especially since we see our enrollment flattening out and even trending upward.
And our overall budget is increasing, so it's a significantly lower percentage of our budget.
Any other comments on that item? Next, we have special reports. Any questions on the reports? Is a disposal notification, data package, and the financial reports that we put in our agenda. Then I would ask for a motion to recess the open session, and we will convene an executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42464 for discussion of union grievance, which is Rhode Island General Law 42465A9, and legal advice and litigation pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42462A2. I have a motion from Ms. Hoskins.
Second.
A second from Ms. Hildebrand. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, then we will convene an executive session. That's the end of the public portion of the meeting, so thank you very much for coming.